I work with business owners, helping them solve one problem, and that one problem is sales. Not their marketing, not their ops, not their hiring, not their branding. I am 100% focused on the process of turning a conversation with a stranger into a paying client. And that is it. That is the whole thing that I do. And because that's the only thing that I do, I end up watching the same handful of problems over and over again across hundreds of businesses that on paper absolutely have got nothing in common with each other. But there are tons and tons of trends that we can follow. And here's what this has taught me. Almost all of the revenue generation advice out there on YouTube, podcasts, and business books, well, it was written for a completely different kind of business to the one that you are running right now. It was written for businesses that grow by pouring more money into ads, or businesses that grow by rapidly hiring their team, or businesses that sell a product that carries on selling itself while the owner and the executive team are asleep. None of this revenue advice was ever written for a business where the owner, who's also probably delivering the service, is the thing that's being sold. And that's not a small detail, right? This absolutely changes which advice applies to you and which advice is going to cost you months, if not years, of trial and error and pain and stress and turmoil. And this disconnect between the advice that's out there for general businesses versus service-based businesses is also why you can look at a business that's down the road from you that's selling a similar service to you, one where people have come from that business over to yours and they've complained about the service that they provided, yet they're still growing 3-5 times faster than you are, and you're getting all the frustration on the back of that. So I've identified 5 brutally honest truths about scaling a service business that nobody else is seemingly saying out loud and certainly aren't sharing on YouTube. And I want to give you fair warning here as we go through them, because some of these are going to sting a little bit, and at least one of them is costing you money every single month. So let's get the first one out of the way. And if you're a business owner who's quietly been wondering whether the reason that you're stuck is that you're not quite good enough at what you do, well, this is probably going to be a bit of a relief. Now, I want to start here because every other truth in this video sits on top of this one. And it is the fact that most business owners, when revenue flatlines, they go straight to the work that they're delivering to clients. They think, right, I need to get better. I need to get better at deliverables, a better onboarding experience. I need to get better results for my clients, and I'm already getting them. And so they pour another year, another couple of years into their craft. And of course, revenue stays the same. Now, I genuinely understand why you want to do this. It's because the craft of the business is the bit that you actually love. That is probably why you went out and started your business in the first place. But here is the thing that almost nobody tells you when you start a business that sells a service. Better deliverables has almost never been the thing that unsticks a service business that is struggling to grow its revenue. And I don't want you to just take my word for that, because you probably heard some version of this before and maybe it didn't change anything in your mind. So instead, I want to give you a bit of arithmetic on your own business, a bit of maths that you can run through. So go back for the last 90 days. Take a look at every deal where you had a conversation with a buyer, where you understood what they needed and you put a proposal in front of them. And then now take a look at the ones that came back and said, no, we want to get rid of them off the table, because that's fine. It's good, it's healthy that people say no to us. We get them out of our pipeline, out of our system. And what you're left with is the deals that you knew you could help the person. The proposal went over and they went quiet. Nobody said, no, thank you. They just stopped replying and eventually they ghosted you. I want to count these opportunities, and I want you to then multiply that number by your average deal size. And that number right there is what your current sales process in its current form cost you in the past quarter. Because every single one of those deals was a deal where you were already good enough to win. You already got them on the call, you'd already positioned yourself with the prospect. They were happy for you to send them a proposal or a quote, but then you lost the deal because your selling system wasn't strong enough to get that buyer over the line to convert them into a customer. And this is the bit that stings, right? That prospect that you know damn well that you could help has still got a problem, they've still got a pain. They've probably gone to one of your competitors and they've started working with them. Not because they have a better service than what you do, but because their sales system closed the deal. Now, there is a bit of a flip side to this. And here's why that number might actually be good news. Because if your business was stuck because the work wasn't good enough, that would be a horrible problem to have. It might take literally years to fix. It's a hiring problem and a training problem and probably a bit of a you problem as well. This isn't that. We don't have to spend years of hardcore development on ourselves, on our service, on the things that we deliver to our prospect to solve this problem. Instead, every deal that made up that overall number of revenue they missed out on was a deal that you were already capable of delivering on, so nothing about the work has to change at all. The only thing that has to change is what happens between perhaps the conversation and the proposal, the conversation and the invoice. And this is the sales system you're running. We just need to improve that system, and those deals could very well fall right into your lap. And by the way, just before we get into the next point, if you want to see more videos built specifically for business owners who sell service, well, make sure that you're subscribed, because that's all we do at salesman.com. Now, when a business owner runs that number and it comes back bigger than they expected, they almost always reach for the same fix. And it's probably the most single common bit of sales advice that's given across the planet, across all businesses, across all industries. And it's also, for a business like yours, one of the most expensive ways to make this exact problem worse. So if you're trying to drive more revenue and you speak to an agency or a freelancer, or you look at every ad that's probably been thrown at you on LinkedIn, social media, just been hurled your direction right now, well, they're going to tell you that you need more leads. You need more leads, more traffic, more content, more outreach, more of everything at the top of the funnel. More. And you probably already bought a product or a course or some consulting that promises something similar, right? Something that's going to increase the numbers of inbound leads or increase the top end of your pipeline. You've probably done this at least once. Most of the people that I work with, they've been through this process. They've paid an agency or a freelancer or one of those 22-year-olds running a lead gen agency who's never actually run a business themselves. And they've come to the other side of this process a few grand lighter with a monthly report and basically nothing else, maybe a few terrible leads that didn't actually need to any net new revenue. And if you've been down this rabbit hole and this advice has failed you, well, it isn't exactly wrong. More leads can solve lots of other problems with your sales system if you can just cram enough leads in the top end of it. The problem is, though, that more leads should be a prescription reserved for a business who already has a sales process that works, rather than just the one answer to any sales problem that most people find themselves in. Because if you've got a machine that consistently turns 10 conversations into 3 clients, or 5 conversations into 2 clients, whatever that number may be, and it is consistent and routine and reliable time and time again, then absolutely go and buy a bunch more conversations. That's a brilliant investment, and you should do it right now. You should do it today. But if you've got a process that loses deals after calls where you feel like it went really well, and then you go and double the amount of leads that are coming through that system, all you've done is doubled the amount of deals that you're going to lose, and you've doubled the amount of pain that you're going to be facing every day as well. So let me reframe what your marketing should actually be used for, because I think a lot of business owners have this backwards. Your marketing is not there to fix the selling. It never was. Your marketing should be there to feed a sales machine that already converts. And until that sales system exists, every dollar that you put into the top by buying ads or paying for training or working with lead gen agencies, well, chances are that you're going to lose in the same way that you lost last time. You just spent a whole bunch more money to do it. Now, I've been through this process very recently with a lad called Danny. He's in the salesman.com mentorship, and he's really skilled at pay-per-click ads. And so he was very easily able to book a bunch of meetings, between 10 and 15 meetings a month, just using Facebook ads and Instagram ads. Now, the problem was he wasn't closing any of them, which is obviously an issue when you're spending a bunch of money at the top of the funnel, right? And the issue wasn't the number of leads or even the quality of leads, because he's really good at doing pay-per-click, right? They were suppliers and they qualified. The issue was they didn't have a selling system in place to convert this lead gen and all these lead gen efforts into paying clients. And the crazy thing was that all he did at first was to start using one of our standard operating procedures to run effective discovery calls. And then he started closing deals on day one. He was doing one call closes across a whole bunch of these customers that he was booking meetings with via pay-per-click. So it turned out that his discovery calls were just complete, and he wouldn't mind me saying this, but his discovery calls were complete and utter trash. So I reviewed a couple more of them. We went back, giving some more feedback, and he improved them further. And this was the unlock that he needed to start driving some serious revenue in his business. And I see this time after time again. It's pretty simple once we get the sales system right to drive leads through it. Now, lead gen, content marketing, hiring agencies, this can all be expensive and pretty pointless unless you've got a sales system set up to convert your leads into clients. But nothing is more expensive for business owners that are in the between 20k to 200k in monthly revenue than the next point that I'm going to share with you. Right, I'm talking about hiring a salesperson. And this is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because on paper, hiring a salesperson is the most sensible decision in the world. You probably don't want to be doing all the selling yourself. you're buried in client delivery anyway. And so you go and hire someone whose entire job is to do the thing that you probably don't really want to do. So it sounds like a massive win. And heck, every business book that you're ever going to read is going to tell you to hire to supplement your weaknesses. But here is what actually happens. So a salesperson who joins a business that has a working sales system, well, they inherit something. They inherit a process, they inherit messaging that's already proven to work, the definition of what a qualified deal looks like in your specific marketplace, a follow-up cadence, a pipeline that someone else has been running and building properly. And that person could be driving revenue in days rather than the usual months or even a 12-month period of ramp up that business owners often have to do with their new hires. But if you hire a salesperson right now, they're not inheriting, if we're being quite honest about this, right? They're not inheriting a proven selling system, right? They're inheriting a laptop and a job title and most likely an angry managing director or CEO who's constantly breathing down their neck, hoping that magically they're going to somehow know more about their business and their market and their service than what they do, which obviously is it's crazy, right? You're asking them to invent your entire sales system from scratch in a market that they've just walked into, whilst also hitting a revenue number in their first quarter. And most salespeople just simply can't do that. And the ones that can do that, well, they're probably not applying for your job because they're either running their own businesses or their salary puts them out of the finances that you can afford right now within your business. So you hire a salesperson and then they flounder for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, and then they either leave because they're not getting the commissions and the revenue that you said that they were going to get, or you have to let them go. And this is such a common theme when people join our salesman.com mentorship that it forms part of my discovery call process. I ask everyone about their attempts to hire salespeople, and literally at this point, I don't think anyone's ever managed to hire a salesperson and they've turned out to be a massive success. And here's the part that actually costs you. And it isn't just the salary of the individual that you've hired. It's that you walk away from this process having learned completely the wrong lesson. You now believe that salespeople don't work in a business like yours. And that belief is going to sit there for years, and it's going to quietly close off the only route that you had from getting yourself out of the business, out of the sales process, and avoiding having to do sales forever yourself. But the issue was that the hire was never the mistake. It was the order that you hired them which was the issue. The exact same person hired 6 months later into the business where your sales systems were set up, they were proven, they were documented. It's probably the best investment that you're ever going to make in your business. Heck, as I say this, right, I'm hiring salespeople right now for salesman.com, and our revenue is likely going to triple over the next quarter based on the back of just 2 hires. But of course, I've seen this many times before, so I did things the correct way around. I built a selling system, so I did all the sales, I documented it all down, we built the system, we built the process, and now the lucky folk that are going to join me in my team, they're going to be earning insane commissions from day one on the job. Now, hiring, building sales systems, improving your deliverables, they're obviously all important, but there is one key risk to your business that you haven't covered yet. And stay tuned because this is the most important part of this entire video. Okay, so when a business owner you've probably been there lying awake at 3 a.m, doing pipeline math in their head, seeing if we're going to have the cash for your vacation or your holiday, or to pay payroll, or to put cash into your pension, or to invest in that new hire, whatever it may be. The thing that they're really worrying about, and the underlying all of this, the thing that is really stressing them out is the business going to fail? And what are the knock-on effects of that? Because they're worrying that 18 months from now, they're going to be sat at a kitchen table explaining to the partner why they've had to go to work for someone else and their business has failed. They're worrying that they're going to have to sack their entire team and their dreams of financial success are going to die in the same moment as well. And honestly, the thing is that mostly doesn't happen. What actually happens though is a lot quieter than that. It's actually a lot more painful than that over a long period of time, because the business is probably going to kind of work. It's going to roughly do what it does now for another 5 years, and then maybe another 5 years after that. And the reason that it doesn't grow or doesn't live up to its potential is not any outside factors on the market or anything like that. It is down to you. And I've got a really simple exercise that is going to highlight why this effect is going to occur. So I want you to actually do this rather than just nod along as you watch the video and imagine it in your head. I want you to do just a little bit of maths here. I want you to go back over the past month or so, count the number of hours that you spent selling. And I want you to be strict about this because absolutely everyone cheats as they go through this exercise the first time round. So thinking about selling doesn't count. Feeling guilty about selling and not actually making any effort and not putting any action in, that definitely doesn't count. Tidying up your CRM, that doesn't count either. The only thing that counts is when you moved a prospect from one step of the buyer's journey to the next, and then the next, and then the next. That is the only thing that counts here. And most business owners who go through this exercise, well, they come back with a single digit figure for their sales activities for the entirety of the month. Now, to juxtapose this, I need to count the number of hours that you spent in delivery. And hopefully you can see the gap here between these two numbers. I'm thinking of it like this, right? Every hour that you spend in delivery past the point at which the business genuinely needs that delivery to be done, well, you're not adding anything to the bottom line. That extra time could be spent selling, driving up your revenue numbers if you really want to grow, if that's what your focus is. And you and I both know why this happens. It happens probably most Friday afternoons for you. So you procrastinate on sales throughout the entirety of the week. You block out a Friday afternoon. It's in the diary. This is going to be your sales time. You're going to focus on some proactive outreach or something like that. And when you finally go to chase the 4 people that you've been meaning to chase for 3 weeks, so you're already 3 months behind on engaging with them, and then you find at 1 p.m. a client has emailed you asking for something to do with a deliverable that you've already delivered or something that's basically not important. It wasn't that urgent. It could have waited till Monday. Nobody would have been upset. Nobody was going to die. But it was concrete. It was a specific ask, and it was quite easy for you just to get the job done. And someone was going to say thank you at the end of it. So there's going to be a bit of a dopamine spike and a stroke of your ego. And so you did it. And then that time that you'd set aside for sales disappeared forever. And this is where most service business owners are. They're not stuck in delivery because they are weak or undisciplined. They're stuck in delivery because delivery seems urgent and selling never seems urgent. It's important, we know we've got to do it, but we can just put it off to another day. Delivery has a client's name attached to it, it's got a deadline attached to it. Selling has neither of those, and so it's going to lose every single time. That, of course, then begs the question, how do we break through this? Well, what we want to do is work backwards from what you wanted from your business financially when you first got started, or what you, last time you sat down to do some planning, what you wanted from a revenue perspective from your business. And I want you to focus on that rather than the day-to-day tasks that the pressure and the stress of running the business is going to try and push you towards. So decide what you actually want the business to pay you. Is it 10 grand a month? Is it 100 grand a month? Is it $1 million a month? You can achieve any of these things with most service businesses. Then you want to look at, well, what revenue do I need to do to be able to pay myself that number? Then look at how many deals is that? How many conversations do I need to have to close one of those deals? And then you keep dividing it down until you get to a specific number of activities per day, which is actually 9 times out of 10 going to be a lot smaller than most business owners expect. Honestly, 5, 6 outreaches from a cold outreach perspective per day is going to satisfy most business owners. It's going to take 15, 20 minutes. The value is that it gets done consistently over a long period of time. So it goes in your diary as a time block. At the time of the day where your brain is still working, so you're not pushing this off until Friday afternoon. And it should get treated exactly like a client call, which means it doesn't get moved around, it doesn't get messed around, it's there, the job gets done. And this is really powerful because when there's a number attached to your sales activity, you now don't have to rely on motivation anymore. You can just do the thing that's on the list, whether this is a busy day, a quiet day, whatever is going on out there. And this daily activity is so important that we built it into our Sales Lab tool, which you get access to when you sign up to our Salesperson mentorship, where you can very quickly track your daily activities, and I can see them on the back end as well. So I can keep you motivated and keep you on track with things as you chip away at these activities that are going to lead you to your financial goals. And so this is something to consider. If you feel like you know how to sell or you know how to reach your revenue potential, but you just need some accountability and guidance to make it happen, well, this month rather than from 5 years from now when you hopefully figure out this on your own. So there are the 5 brutally honest truths about scaling a service business. And look, a service business is a genuinely brilliant business to own. I'd rather own a service business than any other type of business right now as I record this video. But quite frankly, service-based businesses just don't grow the same way that most businesses grow. They need their own approach. And if you want a hand building out your sales system and driving your revenue up whilst reducing the uncertainty and all the stress that you're probably feeling about your cash flow right now, then click the link in the video description to book a call with one of our team and let's see if we can help you. And final thing, if you enjoyed this video, click subscribe because you're going to love the rest of the content on this channel, because that's all we're doing, helping service business owners drive more revenue with very simple, effective selling systems.